Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first ever episode of what I've called the Lee Stuart Show. Now, full disclosure before we start, I do not have a clue what I'm doing. I'm completely winging this. I've never ran a podcast before in my life. However, I thought it'd be an interesting project. I thought it would be fun, and I thought it'd be a good way to supplement what I'm doing within the Rapid Fit community, which I suppose, now I'm talking about it, is the first lesson I'd love you guys to take away from this podcast, or from this series of podcasts, which I'm hoping it's going to turn into. If you guys have ever had anything that you've really wanted to do, something that's inspired you, something that's really grasped your imagination, but you're not sure how to go about doing it, then that'd be my first piece of advice. I think that's the first piece of advice from this series, is just fucking go for it. Have a go, get started, and figure it out as you go along. Surely that's got to be better than never getting started at all. And that's something that I've tried to adapt. That's a mindset I've tried to adapt in my life over the last couple of years. It's just, instead of being held back by not knowing how to do things, just go for it and trust my ability to be able to figure it out as I go. And things have really started to change for me. Things have really started to move forward. Anyway, so what's this podcast series all about? Well, if you've been following me for a while now, you'll know that I'm always talking about living the happiest, most fulfilled, most purposeful life possible. You know, taking some time out to think about your life, analyse things, and think to yourself, am I really happy? Am I really happy with the way my life is panning out? And if you're not, instead of just sitting there for years and sort of wasting years of your life, not really doing anything about it, or hoping that something comes along and makes life better, which in my experience it very rarely does. It's about going, it's about having the courage and the confidence and taking the bull by the horns and just going for it and making some big changes in your life and taking some massive actions if that's what it takes. So that's what this is all about. And what I wanted to do with the podcast is start talking to more people who've got that mindset, but not only have got that mindset, but have actually done something about it, have actually taken those actions and made some massive changes in their life in an attempt to shift their direction a little bit, or rather quite a lot. So I'm going to stop waffling. That's what it's all about. That's a quick heads up. I'm just going to get on with it and introduce my first ever guest on the Lee Stuart Show. It's Mr Matt Molland. Mr Matt Molland, how are you, mate? Good to see you again.
Good to see you, mate. Yeah, I'm very well, thank you.
Fantastic, mate. Fantastic. I'll just give people a quick idea of where we know each other from, mate. First met, I think it was at my, I know it was at my boot camp. It was about 5 years ago now, mate. 4 or 5 years ago you came along?
Yeah, just over 5 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. And I don't know if I've mentioned this to you before, mate. I actually use your example a lot when I'm doing my coaching, when I'm doing my seminars and workshops. I use your example quite a lot, your little story that you told me once. I don't even know if you remember telling it me. You said to me you found it a little bit difficult at first to come along to boot camp because you had this sort of mindset that you developed from school. I hope you don't mind me sharing, mate. You're not the most sporty of people. So when you was at school, you weren't great. You didn't excel at rugby and cricket and football and all those types of things. And that sort of gave you the mindset that sport, you'd sort of tied sport and exercise in your mind into the same thing. And so your mindset was that exercise and sport wasn't for you, but I think you recognise yourself, mate, that wasn't doing you any favours. It was stopping you taking the actions. Your mindset was, I'm not very good at sport, I'm not very good at exercise. So you didn't do any exercise, and then you found yourself a little bit out of shape, a little bit overweight, mate. Is that a fair comment?
Give you a bit of background into it, Lee, and the people watching this. Back in 2014, very, very brief, just to sort of set up the story, really. I had a great job working for Mercedes-Benz. Everything was okay, but the job wasn't particularly fulfilling. I think it's fair to say. We lost my dad in that year, and I decided to make some significant changes, not least of which was to throw my job in, which was very secure and well paid, and start my own business, but also take some other actions which were probably holding me back. So stopped smoking, Went to hypnotherapy on one session of hypnotherapy, and once we got over that, it was then right. I need to be physically fit because I'm running my own business and I'm now responsible. I don't have sick pay. I don't have medical cover. I'm paddling my own canoe, and that's really where you came in. It was with my wife Nicola who found Go Commando, and I was really anti and said no for all those reasons you just said. But came along, met you. I think we got along and hit it off pretty much from the get-go. And that sort of started my journey, if you like, with making those changes. And it's all about mindset, which you talk about.
Yeah, that's it, man. That's what I just want to highlight to some of the people that might be watching that are maybe a little bit overweight. They're not happy with their health and fitness levels. They need more energy, more vibrancy. I think a lot of people perhaps didn't particularly enjoy PE at school, and then they've left school, and then it's never even crossed their mind to put any sort of training gear on, put their trainers on, shorts and t-shirt on ever again, because they've been sort of almost mentally scarred by their experiences at school. They just don't want anything that resembles sport and exercise. And I think it eventually sort of clicked with you that doing some exercise isn't the same as playing rugby. It's a different, it's a completely different thing, isn't it? And and once you got into that mindset, this actually isn't too bad, and you sort of started erasing some of those memories from school, you started actually getting into it a little bit. Am I right in saying you actually quite enjoy boot camp these days, mate?
I'm really missing it, Lee, because I'm currently sort of 3,500 miles away from Coventry. And I've missed it. I've really missed being outdoors, exercising outdoors, the sort of the camaraderie, and the fun. I mean, it is boot camp's good fun. It's a laugh. It's serious, but it's enjoyable.
Yeah, just goes to show how powerful, mate, how powerful a little change in mindset can be. Just thinking back and thinking, how can I think about things a little bit differently, making the actions, making the moves, and your health and fitness, mate, has improved massively, hasn't it?
Yeah, completely. And it had to, as I said, when you sort of go on this journey and say, right, I'm going to start my own business, all of a sudden it brings it into sharp focus about the things that you are now responsible for. Whereas, as I said before, with sick pay, medical cover, all of these sort of things but actually the reason I wanted to start my own business is because my soul was dead. I enjoyed the actual part of my job of writing and delivering training. So what I'm really good at. What I didn't enjoy quite so much was the politics and the corporate side of things. And there'll probably be a lot of people watching the Lee Stuart show right now, sort of stuck in a job that they can't abide, but it pays the mortgage. And actually, I'm living proof, because I'm, believe it or not exactly blessed with lashings of self-confidence. But if I can do it, it's an old cliche, but if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Yeah, appreciate you saying that, mate. Appreciate you saying that. So let's just recap, mate. Let's get this timeline clear then, mate. So when was it you were last employed? When was the last time you were gainfully employed?
Last time I had a real job. End of 2014. So I did 6 months notice with MB, and they were fantastic, a great company, and they let me actually go and find custom while I was still working for them. They said as long as there was no conflict that they would let me do that. So they were phenomenal. So I don't want anyone watching this to think that they were horrible people. They weren't. They were fabulous. But brilliant. I've been paddling my own canoe now for the last 5 years, culminating in obviously me starting another business here in the Middle East.
Got you. And what was it? Was it the passing of your dad that sort of instigated this thought process of I don't want to be doing this anymore?
Yeah, I think that there's a little bit in all of us that human beings, whether we like it or not, and people will argue with me, but we love comfort zones because we know where everything is, and then by virtue of what it's called, it's comfortable. But I think when you lose somebody in your family or someone close to you, it brings it home in kind of high definition that you've got one life and the clock's ticking. So do what makes you happy. Because it's very rarely about the bells and the trinkets and the and the flashy cars and all of that kind. And don't get me wrong, I've been through that, but actually that's not what makes you. That's not what makes me happy, and I believe it's not what makes most people happy.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, mate. I couldn't agree more. So how long did you sort of stew it over for? Did you just wake up one morning and think, right, I've had enough of this job and handed your notice in, or did you and ah, did you think about it for a bit? Did you talk about it with your partner? You know, what was the sort of time frame from, you know, having the first thought to yourself, I don't really want to be doing this anymore, to actually handing your notice in? And what can you give us an idea of some of the thought processes that were going through your head, sort of positive and negative?
Yeah, I think it had been something that had been bubbling away under the surface, but you have an internal voice, and it's something that not many people talk about often, about the voice inside their head, because they think they'll lock you up. But we've all got it, and it's the most influential voice that you will ever listen to. And the voice inside my head was all about, but you're safe in your job, but you've got a pension, but blah blah blah, and it's effectively giving you all the reasons to stay in a comfort zone. But I've been having the thoughts about I could start my own business. I'm recognised in my field and what I do. All of my business comes from recommendation and referral. It's not, I don't market it. So I know I've got the ability.
Let's just take that moment there just to clarify. Just tell people what it is you do exactly, mate. What's your profession? What's your area of expertise?
My area of expertise is not training as in physical training, because that's what you do. My training is all about behavioural stuff. So it's business skills, what is popularly called soft skills. So we talk about people skills, communication. For people who are in sales and management, it's about how to manage people, lead teams, achieve sales success. Because my background prior to this was as a salesperson, and then I got into management and leadership after that. So I provide either online through virtual classroom or physical face-to-face with the current situation permitting, bespoke training. So I write it tailored for the client. I've worked for big companies, really big companies, but also very small companies as well. And it's very effective and has massively positive effects on people's behaviour and ultimately business results. And that's what people pay me for.
Exactly, mate. Yeah. So you were doing this for Mercedes-Benz, and then you just thought, and then you thought, right, that's it. I want to go off and do my own thing.
It was the catalyst, Lee. In answer to your question, I think my dad passing was the catalyst to say, I can come up with all these fairy tale excuses why you shouldn't do something, but sooner or later you run out of them and say, you know, the worst thing that'll happen if you follow your dream, chase your dream, is it doesn't work. Then you want to go and try something else that you're passionate about, or you know, you can go
before.
Yeah, go back to doing what you were doing before, but you're on the next one.
You can't lose, mate. Can that's what this is part of the message I'm trying to get out to people. Is, you know, if it's something you want to do, just go and fucking do it. If it does, like you just said, mate, so I'm repeating what you said, mate, but I'm just trying to highlight the point. Just whatever you want to do, you only live once, just fucking go for it. And if it doesn't pan out, like you said, just go and do something else, or just go back to what you're doing before, and you've not lost anything. You might have lost a bit of time, lost a bit of energy, you might have spent a bit of money, that, you know, but at least you've had a go.
And you'll learn something as well.
Yeah, and you'll learn so much about yourself, so much about the world, so much about life. And what I always say to people, mate, is then don't just quit. Just learn all your lessons and go again. And the same thing will happen. It's never a straightforward process, is it? Making big changes in your life. I think that's another thing that holds people back. They're not happy what they're doing, but then they want to do something else, but it doesn't work out straight away, so they give up and then go back to doing what they're doing before. Whereas what they need to do is learn all the lessons, go again, keep failing, keep messing it up, keep learning lessons, and eventually you get there. And that's another point I'd like to try and get over to any, if there is anybody watching this other than me. That's something I want to get over to people. Yeah, you're never going to change your life overnight. It's never going to work out straight away. It's got to be a slow process. You got to accept that from the start. Be prepared to fail on multiple occasions. Pick yourself up, learn the lessons, keep going, and eventually you'll get there. So how did initially, mate? How did it pan out? So Mercedes-Benz, they gave you 6 months. You handed in 6 months notice.
Well, I handed in 3, and they came back because that was my statutory notice of 3 months. They came back and said, look, why don't you stay with us till the end of the year, because they liked what I was doing. It was getting them great results. And they said, well, you can go part-time for the last 3 months. Well, you can keep the car, you can keep all of the other stuff, go around, build your business. And there aren't many companies that would have done that. And what that actually enabled me to do, by the time I started in January 2015, is I had, I think from memory, 3 clients on board already, one of which was Mercedes' parent company, Daimler, in Germany. So I was going across to Germany. Probably in the first year, I made probably a dozen flights over there and worked out in the head office. And Aston Martin, I won some work with them as well. So some fairly high-profile clients. And I didn't have like you said, Lee, there's this important thing I think to highlight to people out there who are thinking about doing this. I've never run a business before. I can't add up. I will be quite honest with you. The first thing I did is got an accountant. P&L accounts and all of that. I mean, if it's your bag, great, but it's not mine. So the first thing I did is got an accountant, and whatever he costs, it'll be worth it. And that's I've stuck to that. I think you play to your strengths.
I say a good accountant will save you more than you pay him or her.
Absolutely.
I found it to be true. You just need the time to work on your business, not mess around trying to do your own book. Get an accountant and spend the time on working on your business, and then, like I say, whatever that accountant is charging you, he or she will save you that money in the long term. 100%.
And it's allowed me to focus on what I do, which is right training. I'm creative. I create my own programs, business development. So talking to people, developing relationships, which sometimes will take 2 years, sometimes even longer to come to fruition. I found this out here in the Middle East that conversations I started nearly 2 years ago are just starting to come to fruition. So I think the biggest thing that stops people, and one of the biggest fears for me was this whole, there's going to be no salary at the end of the month. Normally you get that magic paycheck that just appears regardless of whether you were engaged in what you were doing or not. That the responsibility that you've got is, I understand me to earn the money, but once you do it, it's not like work. I don't ever feel like I get up and go to work. I just get up and have some fun and go and meet some people and get paid for it.
Do what you enjoy doing.
Yeah.
Which is where I'm trying to, get more people to get up in the morning and not consider what they're about to go and do as work. Just do something that they do anyway. A good way to try and describe it is that, I think a lot of people, I'll like to include myself in this, mate, and probably, you as well. If I, honestly, mate, I'm not just saying it, if I won the lottery at the weekend, if I won 10 million quid, my life I don't think would really change. I'd carry on doing exactly what I'm doing. So I enjoy doing it. My boot camp, my rapid fit. I think the only thing that would change is that I'd get more people in to help me to do the bits and bobs, like the admin side of things, the paperwork, the emails, help more with the admin side of it. I'll probably get myself a PA. But other than that, the main part of what I'm doing wouldn't change. My objectives in life, my goals, my ambitions, all that would stay the same. My purpose is just I'd get some, a couple of people in to help me with a few of the little shitty jobs that I don't like doing. I'd get somebody else to do them and just spend more time doing the things that I love doing.
Yeah, I would completely agree with you. I wouldn't change anything. The only thing potentially is I might be a bit more picky about some of the people that I choose to work with, based on history, not on my current. But other than that, I don't think I'd change anything.
Brilliant, mate. So once you made the leap, mate, so obviously at some point you must have got your final paycheck from Mercedes-Benz. Then you're on your own. Did you have any any second thoughts, any doubts? Did you suddenly think, oh fucking hell, I'm actually on my own now?
Do you know what? The biggest fear is fear itself. I think the biggest amount of stress is because once you've done it, it's what I'm in now. So I'll get cracking with it. And it sounds odd, but it really was that way for me. I think there were far more sleepless nights leading up to the walking out of the head office for the last time. But anybody watching this who drives to work, I was going down the M1 every day to Milton Keynes, and it was soul destroying. It was like, an hour and a half in the car in the morning, sometimes 2 hours at night to get home, have a bit of tea, because I wasn't doing boot camp then. So, watch a bit of telly, go to bed, rinse, repeat, do the same thing 5 days a week, knackered at the weekends. Yeah. And it's you have to look at what makes you happy, and not making you happy, stop doing it.
Yeah, it's fucking. I think soul destroying. It's a powerful word. Then when you think about it, soul destroying. But that's what it is. If you're getting up every day and going to do some shit that you don't really want to be doing, and you've been doing it for 10 or 20 years, and all you can see in front of you is another 10 or 20 or 30 years of it, it is fucking soul destroying. There's no other. I don't think there's any other term to use, is there?
No, none whatsoever. None whatsoever.
What I found, I don't know about you, because I was in a similar sort of situation. I set my boot camp business up while I was still in the Marines, and then it got to, because in the Marines you have to give 12 months notice. So I was really lucky that, again, the Marines, similar to your experiences, the Marines were really good to me. They let me set up Go Commando Bootcamp while I was still serving, so that I could have the opportunity to build it up. And then when I left, it was sort of all there, up and running. But I forgot what I was getting to, mate. I forgot what my point was.
How you started Go Commando Bootcamp, and similar to how I started.
Yes, I've got it, mate. I've got it back.
Well, I'm a trainer, you see, Lee.
Yeah, that's it, mate. You drew it out of me a lot. I'm impressed already. Yeah, what I found, mate, was that probably similar to you. When I did actually take the plunge and say to the Marines, I'm leaving. I'm going to go ahead with Go Commando. It sort of puts you under that pressure to you've got to make it happen. There's actually a term for it called that I use in my coaching. It's called raised necessity. You've sort of almost got no option but to make it a success. And I think some people that they hold back, they think, I couldn't do that. But if you do take that plunge, and you've got a mortgage to pay, you might have a family to support, etc. It's amazing what that can do. It can sort of focus your thoughts, it can focus your energy, it can motivate you, and it can propel you towards success, because you've sort of almost deliberately put yourself in the position where you've got no option but to succeed. And it's not so much something to be scared of, or a situation to be scared of. You can actually use it to your advantage to help you achieve what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
Does that resonate, mate? Were you sort of in the position where you think to yourself, fucking hell, I've got no more wages coming in from my job, this has to work?
Yeah. If that sounds terrifying to people who are watching this, and sort of giving them another reason for their little negative voice to tell them not to do it, as you said, it's actually quite inspirational, because you've got to get it done. You've just got to crack on. But if you've got confidence in your abilities, if you're doing what you love, and you know when you're good at something, because generally, the feedback you get from other people around will tell you that. Then follow it. And I wouldn't. I'm not saying I would say if you're hopeless at maths, quit your job and go and be an accountant, because you'll be crap at maths, and there's nothing that's going to change that. But if you follow your passion, you can make some money out of it and make a living. What you're comfortable with in terms of covering your costs and having a nice life, then do it. And I earn less now than I did as a paid employee. No bonuses and all of the other stuff that goes with it, but I'm a lot happier and a lot more fulfilled.
Yeah, brilliant, mate. That's what I'm all about. It's how do we measure our success? Do we measure it by the size of our bank account, or do we measure it by how happy we are? And as you probably know, my thoughts are, your measure of success has got to be your own personal happiness. If you could be making all the money in the world, you could have all the money that you want. If you're not fucking happy, what is the point? Make yourself happy and measure your success that way. That's what I think, mate. Anyway, and that's what I'm That's the message I'm trying to get out there. So it all went pretty well, mate, didn't it? Everything went pretty well. You flying out to Germany, you're doing your jobs out there, and everything going.
And in fact, it got sort of 2 years in, where I was kind of almost on this again is a bit of a well-worn phrase, but you become a victim of your own success. And I was almost getting to that point, sort of 18 months, 2 years into it. And I remember distinctly, and I think this is another key lesson. That I was in Japan of all places, and I was doing some training in Japan, which is a tough gig because people don't interact in the same way in Southeast Asia. You're there as a teacher rather than as a facilitator. So I'd done quite a hard day on my feet and was in a hotel at the airport, and I had a flight catch the next morning back to Frankfurt to then come back to Birmingham. And I remember being in this hotel room, jet lagged to hell because it was literally a 3-day journey there and back. And remembering that the next job that I hadn't actually written the material for it. And that was a proper kind of wake up call, because it was a bit of a panic moment of, I can't do this, I'm a bit overwhelmed. And you might sort of think that's a crazy thing to say with lots of work coming in, but that was actually quite paralysing, and it made me think quite seriously about whether I wanted to carry on, and because you can't turn work down, you have this almost. I don't know if it was the same for you, but it was whatever people want, they can have it, because I don't want to be seen to be turning work away.
That's it, mate, and it's a quick way to burn out and overwhelm, isn't it? You can suddenly turn what you love doing into something that you hate. And you've got to turn, but I think I speak to a lot of people about this, and a lot of people, when they first start a business, they're just saying yes to absolutely everything, like you said, because you don't want to be seen to be saying no. And before you know it, you've got too much on your plate. You're not sleeping properly, you're getting stressed out. There physically isn't enough hours in the day to do everything that you're trying to do. So you might end up sort of almost, you end up sort of spreading yourself too thin almost. You start finding it very difficult to meet the standards that you want to meet, because you've just taken on too much. I think you've brought up another important lesson to people, mate. Anybody that's thinking of making a move, or anybody that has made the move and is struggling along these lines, you need to start. What would your advice be, mate? Just to be a little bit more realistic and look at the bigger picture, and I suppose focus on being realistic, taking on the work that you can handle, and doing a good job, and being assured by that you'll always do well, and taking on too much and letting your standards drop is probably the worst thing you could be doing, especially as you're trying to get a business going. It
is the worst thing you can do, Lee, and it's the law of diminishing returns, because it means the quality of your work suffers. So you cut the corners, but you're not getting the rest and relaxation, and that's really, really important. It took me a long time to come away from a corporate life, a corporate job, because I'd worked for companies ever since I left school. And initially I used to go to work in the office, and I'd have like business clothes on, because I'm at work, and I'd be there at 8:30 in the morning. And it took me a long time to get out of that habit, because you're almost like conditioned into it. And one thing you realise when you run your own business and chase your own dream, that it's just as important. And I started to do this with bootcamp. Is like remember when you used to do the sessions in the morning at the parks? I'd make a point to go, no, I'm going to boot camp. It's not 9 o'clock or 9:30 or whatever time it was. I'm going to go and do an hour's boot camp, and the emails can wait. And that made a massive difference to my work, making time for myself, and actually saying the business can't rule my life 24 hours a day. So I think that's really important. Take time for yourself.
Prioritising a little bit of self-care. You can't pour from an empty cup, as they say.
No, you can't. So I think
I learned that lesson the hard way as well. You do a much better job for everybody, whether it's your customers, your clients, your partner, your kids. I call it positive selfishness. You've got to be a little bit selfish. You've got to do your exercise. You know me, mate. I meditate. I eat the right foods. Drink enough water. I get an early night. I do all these things that some people might think, a lot of time I'll go fishing for the weekend. I've just got back from a fishing weekend. I just took myself off for 2 days and went fishing. And some people might think that's a little bit selfish thing to do. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to keep myself in the best place possible so then I can go home, put everything I've got into my work, into my relationship with my partner, into my parenting. I've got 2 little girls, and I just find that I function at a much higher level in those areas if I just segment off a little bit of time to myself and look after myself and keep myself in a good place, physically, mentally, and emotionally. And then I've got the energy that I need to plough into all the other areas of my life.
Yeah.
Massively important lesson, mate. Massively important.
Very important. That's one I learned along the way. So, and then every day is a learning curve. Every day you used to sort of learn something new, and I certainly have found that in the last couple of years since we've been here. Yeah,
I'm glad that's come up, mate. So it all sounds like everything was going pretty well, mate. You had more work than you could manage, which obviously, if you're self-employed, it's better than not having any work.
Yeah.
You sort of sorted out your little sort of health. You sorted out your overwhelm. You got a grip on the overwhelm. You started managing yourself a little bit better, generate a little bit more energy, so you could manage all this work that was coming in. You're now out in Dubai, mates. You're working out in Dubai. How did that come about? So, let's just talk about that for a couple of minutes, mate. How did that come about?
I think there were a couple of things at play here, Lee, and I think the first thing was that my wife Nicola and I we've been talking a bit about where the next adventure was gonna take us, because we don't have any ties particularly to where we are. Also, in terms of what was going on in the country at the time, wasn't particularly happy with what was happening and what the country was becoming. And Nick had the opportunity. She was headhunted for a job out here in the Middle East, working in Dubai, but actually looking after the Gulf region. For a big,
just so people are, mate. She works for Nissan, right? We're allowed to say that, yeah. So your wife Nick, she works for Nissan, and she got offered a job out in Dubai, running the Middle East sort of marketing aspect.
The deputy general manager for retailer marketing in the region. So she looks after, as I said, all of the Kuwait, Oman, the UAE. Etc. So she's got quite a big job and big responsibility. And we were here on holiday, weirdly enough, in September 2018, when the offer came in for the job, and we were actually bobbing up and down in the sea, about 10 minutes away from where I am right now. And we just did literally what you were there saying, Lee. It's like, sod it. What's the worst that can happen? I've got no idea how to set up a business in another continent where there's a different language, but actually I'll figure it out as we go along. So that's what I did. We moved here in December 2018. I'm still a UK resident, so I still come back to the UK and spend time in the UK 4 times a year, because I've still got clients in the UK that I work with. So I'm not an expat. But I am a resident, if you like. I've got a residency here, which enabled me to then start a business, which I did. It took me 6 months because things moved much more at a different pace.
Very diplomatic, mate.
Opening a business bank account is not half that straightforward. But I did it, and I got networking. I did a lot of business development. I went and sort of spoke to people that I knew, got introductions, and it was all going fabulously well. And then COVID hit.
Right. Okay. And everything's gone a little bit. Same for everybody, mate, isn't it? Everything's gone a little bit tits up since then. But I think the point to take from, we've got to set COVID aside. That's like an extraordinary set of circumstances. Nobody could foresee that happening. Nobody could foresee the impact it would have on the world, in business and everything else. But I think the fact that you've basically not only, you know, set a business up, but actually gone to a completely different part of the world, where it's not only a different country, it's a completely different culture, completely different environment, and set up a business over there and figured out how to do it, and just managed to get it going. Again, you know, people watching this, they've got to find that inspirational, mate. People that are rumming and ahhing about what to do with themselves. Should they start a business? Should they not? You know, bear in mind there are people out there, you know, like yourself, mate. You know, I'm not, you know, I hope you don't mind me blowing your trumpet for you a little bit, mate. You know, you know, there's people like yourself, mate, who've literally up sticks, emigrated, and done it in, like I say, a completely different culture. So hopefully, people watching, you know, who are thinking about it, can draw some inspiration from that. You know, if they're just going to do something in this country, then, you know, it's doable, mate, basically, isn't it? That's what I'm trying to say. It's doable. So just have some confidence in your own ability to figure things out as you go, and just make that start and make that move. So what's your plans at the minute, mate? You're going to sort of stick it out? You're going to see COVID out and wait for the world to get back to normal and crack on?
Yeah, I mean, I'll answer that one in a second, just to pick up on what you said there, Lee, which I think is a really important point. And I think I said this earlier on when we started chatting, but it's important for me to say it again. That despite what I do and the fact that I'm very confident in what I do, and I'm very good at what I do, I'm not exactly blessed with lashings of self-confidence. I'm not. So there will be people watching this and saying, "Oh, it's all right for him, you know, because he's got bags of confidence." And and then ask anyone who knows me well will tell you that no, actually, I work at it. I don't naturally have a one of these sort of, you know, devil may care, daredevil. I'm quite risk averse, actually. But you've got to, if you don't push yourself out of that comfort zone that we talked about earlier on, nothing grows in a comfort zone. You'll just stay where you are in a little bubble. So the plan is very much for me that you're right with COVID. COVID is, I talk about this in the training that I do with managers and leaders about something called Stephen Covey's circle of concern. That if there are things going on that you can't influence or control or change, they're not problems, they're facts. So there's no point in stressing about it, because it's what it is. You have to control what you have got to control. What you've got to control, total control, is your mindset and your attitude and your belief. So we're staying for the time being. I've commenced getting out and about and having those meetings that got curtailed 6 months ago. It's been very tough the last 6 months, as it has been for every business owner. You know, and you and I have had conversations about you know, the same thing. But stick at it, and you'll get there.
I think from when talking about confidence and making moves and taking actions, I think, like you say, you just get started. It's like yourself, mate. When you left Mercedes Benz and you went out on your own, and you were successful. You know, you put yourself out there, you took a few chances, you invested some time, invested a bit of money, made a success of it, and you sort of gather momentum, don't you? So then when it came to moving out to Dubai, making the decision on whether to do that or not, you could then draw on the experiences that you'd had leaving Mercedes-Benz and think to yourself, yeah, well, I can actually make some big changes in my life and I can actually pull it off. And you can take that into the next project. And it's going back, like I said right at the start of the podcast, mate, it's just getting started, learning your lessons, keeping going, and then it's momentum, isn't it? Building momentum in your life. Thinking, I can actually do that. And you take on something a bit bigger. You pull that off. Eventually, you might take you a few goes, and then that gives you the momentum to move on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And before you know it, you know, a few years down the line, your life's looking completely different to what it was 5 years previously. Yeah,
absolutely.
All right, mate. I think we're doing well, mate. I think we've managed to get. We've had a good conversation, mate. I think we've managed to get some interesting points raised. I think we've given people a lot of things to think about. I think what we've said, mate, has probably resonated with a lot of people. I think there's so many more people than we realise sometimes umming and ahhing about what they're going to do with the rest of their life, and hopefully we've given giving people a few interesting things to think about, mate. Anyway, what I'd like to do, mate, I'd just like to thank you for your time for coming on my show. So yeah, just recap, mate. Just give people a quick recap, mate. What it is you're doing, and how would they, what could you offer to a company, and how could people get hold of you, mate, if they wanted to have a talk to you about what you could do for them?
Okay, so this will be like a 60-second elevator pitch.
60-second advert, Matt Molland training, go.
Training. So it's essentially anything to do with behavioural stuff in relation to business skills, whether it's communication skills, whether it's psychometrics. So I look a lot about how the human mind works and how we get on with other people and how we can form better relationships, leadership, management. I do one-to-one coaching with people, classroom sessions based around sales. My background is obviously automotive, so I kind of got a depth of knowledge in that. But essentially anything to do with non-technical, to do with people's behaviour and driving business results or improving business results through people's behaviour and human performance. That's what I do, and people can get hold of me. I mean, the logo's on the back wall there, and the website is www.mattmollandtraining.com. And as I said, I work in the UK and here in the UAE, so I split my time between the two.
Brilliant, man. You work with anybody from like a one-man band like myself to big corporate, global corporations.
Absolutely. I've literally worked with 1-2 people businesses right through to companies like Daimler with 300,000 employees. So yeah.
Brilliant, mate. Brilliant. Well, yeah, I think we'll start wrapping up there, mate. I just wanted to thank you massively for coming on, spending an hour with me. It's been fantastic. I've really enjoyed the conversation. Massively appreciate your time, mate, and we'll do it again soon.
Definitely. Good to see you, mate. Take care.
Well done, Matt. Thanks, mate. Appreciate your time.
Okay. See you, mate.